order. Welcome to meeting number 10 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on National Defence. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of September 23rd, 2020. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. So we'll, right now, we'll head towards welcoming our witnesses. Bienvenue et bonjour.
Welcome to all our witnesses. It is very important to us to hear your testimony, and we appreciate your time.
We have 4 witnesses today. We'll begin with Rear Admiral Geneviève Bernatchez, who is the Judge Advocate General, and with her today is Colonel Jill Rye, Deputy Judge Advocate General, followed by Colonel Rakesh Jetley, Senior Psychiatrist, Director of Mental Health, Canadian Forces Health Services Group, and then Miss Kindra Rotunda, Professor of Military and International Law at Chapman University. So we'll go in that order with your opening statements, and once the opening statements are completed, then we will hand it over to the committee members for their questions. All right, I'd like to ask Rear Admiral Geneviève Bernatchez, Judge Advocate General, to begin, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will keep my opening remarks brief. Please allow me to begin by introducing myself.
Point of order. And just we're getting an echo.
Okay, stand by.
Is it because they are often in the same room?
Yeah. It might be because someone has a speaker on their computer turned on, and that produces some echo when they talk. So I guess, Rear Admiral Bernatchez, are you in the same room as Colonel Jill Rye?
I am, yes.
Okay. Maybe check if there's a speaker running in the background.
Somebody has listening to the French channel. That's what we're hearing in the background.
Ah, Colonel Bernatchez, peut-être que ce serait votre canal français d'interprétation.
Colonel Bernatchez, maybe it's your French interpretation channel.
J'ai mis cependant le...
That's odd because I did select the correct channel, it seems to me. One moment, please.
Est-ce que... Bon, veux-tu qu'on le fasse en rester encore?
Je l'entends toujours le...
Oui. Okay.
Monsieur le greffier.
I've been told that our echo problem might be coming from any computer. If someone turns their mic on, it just does a feedback.
Yeah, just as a point of interest, whenever there's getting echo, it's coming on the floor audio where Chair McCrimmon is.
All right, are we still having the same problem, or is that been fixed? You want me to continue speaking?
Floor is fine. Could we get somebody from?
Rear Admiral, can you start talking for 5 seconds, please? We'll just do a sound check.
Oui, Monsieur le greffier. Plus l'écho présentement. Est-ce que vous voulez que je continue à parler?
May I continue speaking? One moment, please.
Unfortunately, we have not fixed this issue. It might be related to your computer, Rear Admiral. So someone from the team will reach out to you and try to get this fixed. And in the meantime, I'll ask Colonel Rakesh Jetley to give his opening remarks, and then we'll ask you, Rear Admiral, to come back after. Hopefully, we'll fix this problem in the background. All right, Colonel Jetley. Colonel Jetley, could you unplug and then plug back in again, because we're not getting any of your feed at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
So when my teenage kids aren't around, I have one of these tech experts do it for me. So it's fantastic. All right, let's try again. I'm hearing an echo in my own.
Definitely, the echo is coming through the floor audio in the committee room.
Yeah,
It lights up every time when Colonel Jetley's speaking. It's lighting up over on the floor audio as well.
Yeah, so I'm a bit distracted hearing myself twice.
Okay, stand by. Okay, Colonel Jetley, could you help us out here and just, you can continue your talk, but we'll have you restart again. I just want to hear your feed coming through, and then perhaps we can hunt it down here in the committee room. They seem to think it's here in the committee room. So if you could just give us your audio feed, and then maybe that'll help us find it. Okay, Colonel Jetley. I know I can't hear.
No translation right now.
Okay, stand by. We're now having trouble with translation.
Madam Chair and members of the Steering Committee on National Defense, I am the Chief of Psychiatry in CAF. I think I do hear an echo again, but I'll carry on. I have several key roles, including advising leadership on mental health issues. I'm the Senior Mental Health Clinician of the CAF. I conduct and facilitate a great deal of mental health research related to military members and serve as CAF mental health representative on international committees within NATO and beyond. I thank you for interest in the well-being of the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces, in particular their mental health. As we have learned through our high-quality research efforts over the years, mental illness is common within the Canadian Armed Forces, just as it is in civilian society. Our studies, such as the 2002 and 2013 Canadian Community Health Survey Mental Health CF version, allowed us to understand the burden of mental health illness within our organization compared to the civilian population. Our depression rates in both studies were higher than those in the civilian population, and our PTSD rates increased substantially between 2002 and 2013, not surprising after the conflicts in Afghanistan. As an example, the 2013 survey found a 15.7% lifetime prevalence of depression in members of the CAF. Lifetime PTSD was estimated at 11.1%. Just as significant as the crude numbers, these studies also tell us a great deal about help seeking, perceived barriers to care, and help us to understand what we call the need-care gap. As we continue to evolve our programs, we are guided by these studies and science with the aim to provide CAF members with timely access to evidence-based care. The well-understood barriers to care include individuals being unaware that they have mental health illness that is amenable to care. People also prefer to handle things themselves. They fear for their careers. And of course, there is stigma. People may believe that I'm weak if I seek mental health care. The programs that we have developed over the years are specifically designed as countermeasures to these barriers. For example, Road to Mental Readiness aims to educate, teach coping skills, reduce stigma, and increase help seeking. The term OSI correctly legitimized psychological injury alongside physical injury. I understand that this committee is also interested in discussing suicide prevention within the CAF. Occur in our society, and the Canadian Armed Forces are not an exception. Depending on our source, but conservatively, using Stats Canada numbers, 11 Canadians die by suicide each day. That's approximately 4,000 a year. Within Canada, suicide is the second leading cause of death among young and young adults, aged 15 to 34 years, and 3 times higher in men than women. 1/3 of death by suicide occurs in those aged 45 to 59. A quick look at these numbers, and we see that the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces are within this higher risk demographic. We have within CFHS the commitment to better understanding of suicide, to better manage and mitigate risk. We are in regular communication with our allies and leverage the collective wisdom to implement approaches that we feel would be helpful. It is also important to remember that suicide is not a singularly health-related issue, as it is a complex, multifactorial condition that usually involves a mental health condition, diagnosed or not, stressor, usually interpersonal, certain personality factors, such as impulsivity, and of course, access to lethal means. I can expand further as desired, but the model mentioned provides many opportunities for suicide intervention. As such, within the Canadian Armed Forces, we consider suicide prevention a collective responsibility that involves leadership, colleagues, peers, healthcare providers, and our entire community. In 2009 and 2016, we convened expert panels on suicide prevention, in which we invited academic and military experts from within Canada and our allies to help assess and guide our efforts in this important area. We have made recent changes that include working with the Canadian Psychiatric Association to create a CAF, Clinician Handbook on Suicide Prevention, that is a comprehensive document that identifies risk, assessment, and management of suicidality. We adopted the Columbia Suicide Severity Scale to standardize our way to capture the elevated risk. We also introduced CBTS, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, Suicide, through a training program across the country, which is cognitive behavioral therapy specifically aimed to address suicidal behavior, not just the underlying mental health condition. In March of this year, we within the Canadian Armed Forces, as did all Canadians, and indeed the entire world, face an unprecedented stressor. The COVID-19 pandemic, which I know this committee has discussed, impacted us all. From a mental health care perspective, I would like to share the fact that the mental health services were never closed, in that from the outset, our leadership considered the mental health care of members of the Canadian Armed Forces a priority. We faced challenges, as all health systems did. We had to comply with local, municipal, and provincial policies and had to manage risk of our patients and staff vis-a-vis the pandemic. Services continued and continue to be provided. Mental health care has been provided across the country in our clinics using a variety of means, ranging from in-person assessments with both patient and clinician appropriately wearing PPE, telephonic, and virtually using video platforms. There have been challenges in this implementation based on technology and limited Wi-Fi in some of our buildings and compatibility of commercial platforms. This is an area that we continue to refine. We can discuss further as desired, but as someone who joined the Canadian Armed Forces at the end of the Cold War, I am one that remembers that health services exist not only to provide care to the ill and the injured, but also maintain operational readiness for times when we are expected to respond and act on behalf of the people of Canada. During the pandemic, the CAF did respond both domestically and internationally when called upon, and health services supported those operations. I'm happy to take any questions that the committee may have for me, and to let you all know that this will be the last time you'll be meeting me in uniform, as I am well into my transition back to civilian society, which will occur in early 2021 after 31 years within the CAF. Thank you.
All right.
Point
Thank,
d'ordre, Madame la Présidente.
Call to order. I'm sorry. I have a problem with interpretation because currently for my staff, because my phone, my staff who are on the phone cannot hear the interpretation.
Madam Chair, just on that point of order, I listened in on both the French and English channels. The French channel didn't have an echo on the Zoom call itself, but definitely the English side is where we're getting English echo going back and forth, like Colonel Jetley was on Megahorn in a large town square. And congratulations on your retirement, Colonel.
Thank you.
C'est-à-dire, M. Bazan, que ce qu'on me dit, moi,
Mr. Bazan, what I'm being told is that on the French channel, oh, now I can hear myself. Hello, Mr. Bernard, this is Michelle. Apparently,
Semble être au niveau des lignes
we're trying to fix the problem. It seems to be on the telephone lines, and for the French channel, it depends. The best solution may be to ask your members of your staff to connect directly to Zoom using your credentials. And when I speak,
your service, and congratulations on your upcoming retirement. I know you've worked hard your whole life to represent Canadians right across this country and look after our men and women in uniform. So I thank you very much for that. I'm going to hand the floor now to Rear Admiral Bernatchez. Thank you, Judge Advocate General.
Madam Chair, I'm getting French in the background, and I'm not on that.
Okay, stand by. All right, we'll try this again. We'll threaten to meet on Friday. Maybe it'll work. Could Colonel Jetley, you said you thought you might be able to come on Friday. Rear Admiral Bernatchez, do you think you might be able to make yourself available Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock?
I would make myself available.